Hello, I'm Mantastic'c and Fantastic, and today I will be joined by the luscious Lumon, and together we are going to be talking about the new Super Godfest that has just gone live in North America. So, Lumon, tell us a little bit about yourself once again.
Hi, I'm Lumon. I used to make content, but I've been kind of busy with a lot of things.
Like Civ 6.
Yeah, I haven't been making much anymore, but I still do play a little bit. You might catch me in like AP or something like that. So, yeah.
But
I do keep up with the game.
But he still keeps up the game. Excellent. So, for this current Super Godfest, it has underwhelming rates because, generally speaking, the lowest it could ever go, at least the lowest I've ever seen for a 10-stone event, is 33%. But we kind of have not really seen a 33% recently. It's more so like a tiny bit above 33%. So that's exactly what this Godfest is. You have the 7 stars, the 6 stars, and then 5 new 6 stars. But unfortunately, the total rolling rates are only 36.5%, which is pretty underwhelming. And as a result, I don't really encourage you to roll in this event because it's a little underwhelming. Did you roll in this event, Lumon, by any chance?
I did roll a little bit.
Just a little bit, though, because you were chasing a certain card, which we're going to talk about soon. So we're going to look at the 5 new 6-star Godfest exclusives, or the dual wielders, and the new 7-star Godfest exclusives will be discussed in a separate video because they have a monster exchange option. So let us take a look at the first new dual wielder. So we have, who is it, Lumon?
Pure Azure Magic Sorcerer Silver.
Outstanding. So what do you like about this card?
Well, I think it's a very simple card, right? Double 10C, Water Rose. Feels very simplistic. You just run it as a Water Row kind of card.
Yeah, you have triple 10C as well, actually.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even notice. So I'm pretty sure in this day and age, you're probably going to be running the triple 10C.
Yes.
So it's just a very strong, hard-hitting, row-based sub. Very simple playstyle, should work well. Maybe you run it on something like Royal Oak or something. Honestly, Blue Rose have kind of fallen out. I haven't seen a Blue Row team in a very long time. So I think with Silver, it might come back a little bit, but we'll see. But it's definitely a strong sub in that sense. Hard-hitting damage.
Yeah.
And an interesting active to boot with that new board size changing ability.
Yeah, so it comes with a movement time buff, an RCV buff, and like we said, Royal Oak, that's an attack buff. So in theory, you have all the buffs covered with Royal Oak and Silvert, and they have 2 turns of a bigger board. So unfortunately, the bigger board can't let you dodge mechanics. In theory, if you use it at the wrong time, you might just get punished, but I doubt you're going to do it at that point. Their leader skill looks like it has a cool attack multiplier and large effective health, but you need to have lots of water orbs connected. Really just a full board, so it's not quite that practical, but it's mostly just a hard-hitting damage card with nice buffing aspects. Their first weapon assist is quite spicy for row teams, though.
Yeah, it definitely looks strong. It's probably going to be right up there with like really, really good row equips. Yeah. A lot of equips, generally, either you go for like 3 team HP, or you go for a lot of rows, and this kind of just kind of toes the line on both.
Yeah, exactly. Like, not many weapons have more than 5 rows, or 5 or more. That's not really common. And it gives you 2 turns of haste along with a full spectrum of buffs. So there are definitely lots of dungeons where you get hit by pretty much every kind of debuff at some point at the beginning, and this can clear those and give you haste. So I'd probably be more inclined to pursue that weapon, possibly. And then their final weapon is an attribute donation for water from the sub-attribute, some rows, and combo orb, along with basically the same active skill.
So, yeah, I can see this being pretty good for like maybe endgame, but more like farming. Because let's say you're running like blue rose swipe, gives you extra damage and rows and a core. It's just a really good package.
Yep, definitely useful overall. All right, the next dual wielder is
Celestial Water Dual Fan Princess Mayfang.
Lumon has great pronunciations. I'm so glad you pronounce things well. Alrighty, so what do you like about this card here?
I think it has a lot of interesting applications in that you have the leader skill, first of all, with the all different rarities. So definitely interesting there. And then you have the leader, or not the leader skill, the active skill, which has the max HP, and then you have a lot of skill charge, right? So unfortunately, you can't run three on the same team.
There's no skill charge. Oh no, never mind. Sorry, it's 3 skill charges, so 3 per turn.
Yeah, it's a double skill charge or skill charge plus. So unfortunately, you can't run 3 on the same team if you lead any of them because you'll violate the rarity clause.
Yep.
But like if you manage to sub 3 at once, you just perma 2x max HP,
and
right? Perma orb time, right? It's kind of has that meme potential in my opinion. I think as a lead, it might be a little awkward to work with because you have that gap of the third one, but it definitely has some meme potential. It definitely has interesting potential, but maybe it might be a little difficult in terms of team building.
Yeah, and in terms of different rarities or like any leader that cares about like the total rarity, it doesn't count your friend's leader, so just ignore that aspect. So that's why you could have 2 on the same team and still fulfill the leader clause. And the doubling of the HP is a way to stack or like pump up your effective health while stacking with shields potentially, because you increase your health pool. That doesn't take up like the shielding slot, so to speak. You could put up a shielding active and probably just never die in that sense. So some interesting ways to survive. Respectable rainbow damage with 4 attribute awakenings, charges up every 3 turns. It can be interesting. For their first weapon assist, what do you like about this?
I think it's okay. It's like a balance of just decent awakenings, right? You have the 3 color, which is the most flexible out of all the rainbow awakenings.
2.5 and then you have personal damage.
Yep. Oh yeah, 2.5. I keep forgetting. I always think of it as like 2, 3, 4, but
yeah.
And then you have a mishmash of like just decent awakenings, like Team HP, Team RCV, very good. And then the OEs have gotten a lot more value because of the negative OE debuffs in dungeons. So any little like OEs, like 1, 2,
sprinkled around,
it becomes a lot more valuable in that sense.
And the active skill is pretty similar to their base form in terms of the bonus HP movement time, but it's also a full cleric active skill. So you could technically slap this on your cleric for your rainbow teams, give them 2.5 times more damage, a bit more bulk in OEs. Not a bad thing to have overall. And again, you do get the movement time buff, which might be somewhat lining up with a problem as well. So I feel like I would probably just make this weapon assist for myself. But then at the same time, this is pretty cool too.
Yeah, I'm not very enamored with this one, unfortunately. It is a 5-color equip, which is equipable 4.5.
Yep.
But we already have farmable versions of this equip, so it takes off a lot of the luster that it might have. And the other thing is that you have like the light sub-attribute,
which is
awakening.
Nerf you.
And while that's interesting, remember, like it's not going to. If it makes or breaks your team, it'll be very good, right? Like maybe you really needed that light sub-attribute to like cover that last attribute because you didn't really have any good cards with light attribute or sub-attribute. But at the same time, like because there are farmable options and the degree of difference is that 1 awakening, I'm not really enamored with it all too much. I think it's like mid, but not really that great.
One thing to keep in mind is most rainbow teams don't like want to have different colors on their sub attribute, because a different color sub attribute does more damage compared to like the same one. And the awakening only gives 15% if I'm not mistaken, but like different colored sub attributes is 30%. So unless your card was a sub attribute, like just didn't have any sub attribute whatsoever, you're probably downgrading your damage on that card for the sub attribute at least.
Yep.
So I feel like I would like the middle equip just to slap on my cleric because it's bulk, some RCV, and more damage. Why not? All right, now we have, who is it?
Destructive Fervor Dual Fist Warrior Conrad.
Outstanding. So what do you like about this card?
I think that in terms of the green-red TPA meta that Gung-Ho is trying to push.
They're pushing it hard over time, it seems.
Yeah, they are. They tend to push these awkward play styles from time to time. And I think that he's actually a pretty good addition, mainly because his active is very, very nice.
Yep.
You have Awoken Bind Clear on a very, very fast cooldown.
Yeah. And
Along with...
don't need Unmatchable for TPA teams. That's why it's a big advantage.
Yeah, exactly. Because you don't need Unmatchable, so you only need Awoken Bind Clear, so you can always run the Unmatchable Latent, and that'll cover the other half of the Cleric needs that you need.
Exactly. And strong personal damage, double 10, potentially 6 TPAs. Like, that is a large amount of personal damage in theory for your Cleric as well. So low cooldown, easy to inherit over top of, something desirable. But again, we just need to find uses for this card, I feel. You could make arguments that if you have a Daytona team and you need all attributes, this could be pretty great. Like, it's covering colors you don't have. Like, if you need you need a Cleric, you need all attributes. I don't see why not.
Yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
for sure.
There's a chance. And then their first weapon assist, it's unique for sure.
Yeah, Cloud and Tape. We've seen this with Halloween Choco's equip. And
that's pretty expensive to make considering you're giving up some of the best subs possible.
Yeah, for me, I haven't really seen like a absolute need for this type of equip, right? Like, it's definitely good, definitely something you can just slap on, but a lot of the time you generally have like random Cloud or Tape equips somewhere, so it's definitely like a great option to have in your back pocket, but I don't think it looks great, but practically speaking, it might not see as much use as it looks to have, if that makes any sense.
Yep. And their second weapon assist is interesting as well. It's got 8 turns of +3 combos. So, like, I can see that being used in, like, very niche situations where you need to overcome, like, certain dungeons for farming where you need lots and lots and lots of combos every turn. Maybe.
Yeah.
It's one of the longest.
I could see that.
It's like one of the longest lasting, like, multi-combo buffs when I think about it.
Usually for farming, what I tend to notice is if you need to get over a combo hump, unless you're adding the combos to the leader skill, which is suboptimal because of the animations that combos generate, generally speaking, you actually want a shorter combo steroid because
like one
that
or two
way you
turns
can
only.
that way you can get over the one problematic. Now, to be fair, it's not bad depending on the lead because a lot of damage comes from like combo awakenings, right? Like 7C, 10C.
Yep.
So to that end, you may need to just trigger those awakenings, and that's why you know, for example, if you remember Sabito system, right? It gave you enough combos to trigger the 7Cs on a lot of blue subs back in the day, and that's why you had to deal with all the combo animations. But nowadays it's a little bit different. I'm not as enamored with it for farming. I'm not sure exactly where I would use this,
but it's unique.
Honestly.
It's more so just that, I feel.
Yeah, I think it's I probably wouldn't make it, but maybe it becomes a use for this, and then it'll be really good.
Yeah, like I don't think there's anything else that quite does that, so that's cool. All right, and now we have
Blinding Radiance Armored Knight Lawrence.
Outstanding. And they've got light, so the sub-attribute can do meaningful damage with their triple 10 combo, and then 2 enhanced light combos as well. And what else do you like about this card, Lumon?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is that it has the Heart L shield, so that means you can run the skill boost latent for 3 more skill boosts.
Yep.
Which is pretty significant because, as you can see, you don't really want to run skill boost plus, even though it's a great super awakening, because you want the damage in this day and age.
Yes.
So, yeah, so it's great that it has L shield. And then what's interesting to me is that you can actually get a second L shield, which can make things pretty interesting in terms of damage reduction and all that.
Yeah, but then you get that 10C as well.
You do have to sacrifice the 10C, which does suck, but it can get very interesting. As for the active, it's a pretty short illusion/color void, which is great, and then it also has a board expand effect, which can be situationally very, very useful. In particular, because for taco teams, just having a bigger board means you can fit more combos, which means you can stack the damage from the awakening even more. And because the damage requirements due to super gravity have become so high, any and all damage that you can get is very, very valuable.
Exactly. And like one thing that's nice is that it's a 6-turn like Fujin and attribute absorption cancellation. So like there are many dungeons where your assists are removed, and it can be great just to have a card with this base active skill on your team for that reason.
Yep.
All right. And then like in theory, like they have beefy stats and like auto follow attack, and Captain Marvel, or what's her name, and it's like Matilda,
Yeah, Malesia, I believe.
something like that. Yeah, she doesn't have auto follow attack, and in theory they could pair together to a certain extent because they both want 2 light combos.
Yep, it could definitely work. You would have to lead this, and then you would have to put one Malesia as the helper.
Yep.
But it could theoretically work.
Possibly, if you can have different rarities.
Yeah, whether you would want to run him as like the optimal pairing is another thing, considering, the less value for Autofua, the lessen the value for Autofua in, endgame right now.
Yep,
so
a little less. All right, and then their first weapon assist brings double team HP and double taco.
Yeah, honestly, I gotta say it looks pretty good. 2 team HP and double taco, like
that's a huge damage increase.
Yeah, it's a lot of HP and a lot of damage for sure. Taco is one of those things where if you can generate the combos, like it will stack very, very quickly.
Yep, it's like deceptively strong.
Yeah, so I think it's actually a pretty good equip. Now, it's definitely a luxury because obviously with equips you have to cover all sorts of different utilities.
Yep.
But if you can fit this, it's definitely pretty good. And not only that, but it also has the perfect board and a giga burst. So
yeah,
like
everyone's capping.
Whatever you're fighting, you're gonna
hopefully kill it.
Yeah, hopefully you obliterate it with this.
If you don't, well, go back to the drawing board.
Yep.
All right, and then their last weapon assist is 4 team RCVs. Yep.
Yeah, so this has become really, really valuable and popular with MD2 Shivadra. I know because I engineered a build, and the recovery is actually a little bit lacking, so you really do want as much recovery as you can get. And Odindra's equip, or at least one of his equips, have 4 team RCV. Yep. So this is pretty good. Now, again, I did mention... Yeah, I did mention a farmable replacement in Odindra, and the only, like, the biggest difference here is the light sub-attribute, which can be useful. I think it's more useful than the other one with the 5-color awakening, but at the same time, because there's such a close farmable replacement, I think it does lessen the value of this a lot, because of the replaceability. Yep. But otherwise, it's pretty good.
One interesting aspect is, in theory, it comes with like a skill boost, quote unquote, in the sense that it's 100% damage reduction. So if it overcharges, the card that uses this active gives you 100% shield, and you don't die. That's like a skill boost.
So I want to say that there's an interesting application to that, because it might seem like it's only one, but theoretically speaking, let's say you run 2 delays and you run this, you can use this as the extra turn that you need to reset the delay marker and add a second delay on. So
I think
it could be more.
Yeah, that's what I did with Gojo's headband. Like when MD2 first came out, it's the way I got my Royal Oak to transform multiple times with like 2 delays. There's interesting usages for sure. And then this is your favorite card, I believe, Lumon.
Yeah, Dichotomous Dual Gun Princess Kamida.
And why do you like her so much?
Well, I don't know if you guys know, but I'm a big proponent of Dungeon Boost farming. So Kamida is... So Dungeon Boost farming has changed a lot. Obviously, the core of it is just farming the lowest difficulty and juicing the drop rates with Dungeon Boost and drop rate boost leader skills. But lately, it's all been changed because Gung-Ho has been pushing a different type of token farming, right? So instead of like a bunch of
super easy stuff.
A bunch of rather archaic difficulties. They've now modernized the dungeons. There's only 3 difficulties, and the dungeons are relatively a lot harder. Yeah. So it makes Dungeon Boost farming a bit more difficult. A lot of the old techs that you could get away with are now unacceptable. For example, A good early cheap farming team would be like a bunch of Raws and Varroa. And because Raw had the Dungeon Boost Awakening, like you could run an acceptable like farming team for int with very, very limited resources.
Exactly.
But nowadays you can't do that because the values have gone up so much that Raw's button is just not enough. Hopefully they buff it and make it relevant again for newer players, but it's just they've changed it, right? And so enter Kamida. Kamida is really good because she has a button that keeps up with the times, right? 3 million
twice
2 ping.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
It'll
kill.
It's also void as well for 2 turns.
Yep. Although to be fair, you don't really see a lot of void in dungeon. Could be useful.
Doesn't Gung Ho Collab have a void on like the blue spawn, or is that only the higher difficulties?
I'm pretty sure it's the higher difficulties. Okay. I will say though, in terms of like button farming, it's also pretty useful because maybe you need to button through a void spawn, and this has the void come first, and then the button after. There are some actives that do it the other way around, which is silly. It's the most frustrating thing ever. But so definitely very strong, and already comes with innate 3 dungeon boosts, and can have a 4th one, which is actually unprecedented.
There's no card that has 4.
Yeah.
Until now.
Yeah, so it's definitely unprecedented. Of course, you do have a low amount of skill boosts, which is pretty unfortunate. It definitely does throw a wrinkle into the farming.
But how many X-Wings do you have?
What was that?
How many X-Wings do you have?
I have 2, I believe. And I got lucky because I didn't roll that much in Star Wars, but the Twitter roll actually gave me a free X-Wing. So anytime I bring that up, I get harangued out because it's like I'm too lucky.
You are pretty lucky in most things, I agree. But let's take a look at our weapons, which are just not as exciting, unfortunately. This is pretty underwhelming. Like, this looks like an old attribute donating.
Yeah, I mean, theoretically it's
3
very strong,
it's 3 haste, but you're giving up the 4 dungeon bonus card.
To be fair, though, it's a nice setup equip, right? Just set up for the dungeon at hand. You're going in, and you set up the Skyfall. To be fair, Skyfall setups have been kind of outdated, and this isn't even 99 turns either.
Yeah.
So it's kind of less valuable.
And most dungeons nowadays give some sort of Skyfall midway through.
Yeah, so then it nerfs the heck out of that too. Yep. So, yeah.
And then, like, it's a VDP with bind immunity, skill bind resist, cleric active, 2 turns of attribute absorption. Like, it's unique, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, there might be a situation. It's kind of like Oria's weapon, which I've been finding more and more useful nowadays. Like, because it gives full cleric plus damage absorption and attribute absorption. This doesn't give the damage absorption, unfortunately.
Oh, you mean as a cleric plus? I was actually looking at the awakenings myself.
Oh, that too. I've been using Oria's weapon quite a bit more for like MD4 and even like Shura 3s. It works well because you can counter quite a few floors of 1 active. Some small things. Yeah, like Shura 3, like, you know, like the Woodsy that makes wood unmatchable and the absorption. You can get both of that removed in one go. And MD4 floor 4, similar idea. There's either a Woken Bind or unmatchable and absorption, and then absorption on the next floor. So Oria counters all of that. This doesn't quite do it as well, unfortunately.
That's a very interesting application. I'll admit, like, I haven't played much endgame, so I probably the applications of these things I'm not as sharp with.
That's fine.
But
yeah, like it's 1 active to solve multiple things, which is odd. So, like, this might solve multiple things, possibly. Possibly. But that 4 dungeon boost card.
Yeah, it's I mean, some people, I don't know. It's interesting because, you know, people have been shifting to, like, myth farming, right? It's in dungeon boost farming has always been a very expensive venture.
Usually.
And they tried to cheapen it with... Yeah, what's up?
Yeah, it got cheaper, like, with Greed Dragons and, like, whatever, Kanagon? I think that was called. Is that from Ultraman?
Oh, yeah, the Ultraman.
Yeah, Ultraman.
Was it Ultraman?
I don't know. It's one of the... Maybe it's Kamen Rider. I don't know. It's one of those. I forgot.
Yeah.
But it was a low rarity card, so, like, that's where I got mine from.
Yeah. They did try to make it cheaper, but then, you know, Gung Ho kind of shafted all that by making the dungeons much harder. So.
Exactly. Alrighty, so in conclusion, this Godfest isn't particularly exciting, I feel, from at least a rolling point of view. Like, these new dual wielders are going to be featured probably in the next many, many Godfests, and hopefully the rates will just simply be better. Because at least from my point of view, I don't like rolling in stuff when the rates are against me. Like, yes, the new toys are definitely exciting, but the 7 stars, we can monster exchange for them with the medals, and if you have Pad Pass, you get 2. And together, Lumon and I will talk about those in a separate video. Do you have any parting remarks you'd like to bestow upon our viewers, Lumon?
I mean, it's great that we're getting new GFEs, especially 6 stars. I don't like. I think we haven't gotten a new one for at least 2 years. It's been a while. So.
Yeah. I think new is new. It's always good to see like new content. But either way, let us know in the comment section down below what you think about this Godfest along with the new dual wielders. Do you think they're exciting or underwhelming? But regardless of all that, hopefully you'll have a truly fantastic day. I wish you the best luck in your own pet adventures and happy puzzling.